Hi, this is Chef Paul. Welcome back to your little wine journey of our wine basics. And today I'm going to talk to you about opening a bottle of sparkling wine. Remember, we're not going to call it champagne unless it comes from champagne. It's really important. I'd like everybody to learn that. So what I'm going to open today is a bottle of Prosecco. Now, if you remember from the last episode, we talked about different words for sparkling wine depending on where they come from. And Prosecco comes from Italy, and it is, and this one comes actually only 11% by alcohol by volume. You really need to understand how champagnes are labeled. Not as much with Proseccos and Spumantis, but with most traditional method sparkling wines, you're going to see a row of words. You're going to see words like brut, extra dry, semi-brut, sec, demi-sec. What those words mean are the residual amounts of sugar that are in the sparkling wine. So you can actually use these as a guide towards how you like your wine, sparkling wine, to taste. They range from very dry, brut nature or brut nature, which you're only going to see in French champagnes, is really dry. It can have from 0.0 to 0.05% residual sugar. This would be a bone dry champagne, not sweet at all. From there we go to brut, which is probably the most popular of the French traditional champagnes and the ones produced in California. This is from 0.5 to 1.5% residual sugar. And what this means, if you remember, we talked about the disgorgement and then adding a little bit of wine back in. This is where we get this residual sugar. And that residual sugar just takes a little bit of the edge of dryness off, okay? Then we go to extra dry. Pretty much extra dry you're only going to see on American and Australian, some South American and South African sparkling wines. You won't really see it on European Union wines. And extra dry ranges from 1.2 to 2.0% residual sugar. Then sec. Now, sec is a French term, and it's going to be, it means almost dry. So 1.7 to 3.5% residual sugar. We're starting to get sweet now. Then demi-sec, which is basically half sec, 3.3 all the way up to 5% residual sugar. And then finally we get to deux, which is French word for two, right? Un, deux, trois. And deux means double, over 5% residual sugar. These are very sweet sparkling wines. Prosecco is going to be in that probably 3% range. It leans toward the sweet side. The American palate is sweet, and Prosecco is a monster out there right now. Everybody's drinking it. Fairly inexpensive. There's no reason to spend more than 15 to 20 bucks on a bottle of this. Basically, something that you could drink on a daily basis. So, taking a look at the bottle, what you're going to notice right away is a foil capsule. And when we take the foil capsule off, all Italian wines, by the way, will have a label that is actually required by the government of Italy, and it actually tells you something about the wine. For Italy, DOC, which talks about the area, Denominazione dei Controlli, which talks about the area the wine is actually grown and produced in, meaning that it's regulated by the government, okay? So what we're going to do is I'm going to start, there's a little tab, and I'm going to rip it off. And then I'm going to pull this off. Now, the thing you need to know about all sparkling wines is you never point them towards people, okay? And we never want to shake them up. This isn't a Formula One race at the end, and we've got the giant bottle. What we're going to do is we're going to be very careful. Champagne should be opened with a whimper, not a pop, okay? Or as one of my mentors and colleagues, John Holly, who our dining room is named after, he said, champagne should be opened with a sigh. And I always like that. So around the cage, you're going to see a small twist. And we're going to turn this 2, 3, 4, typically 5 times, and that's going to basically release the cage. Now, if you notice, I've always gotten into the habit of keeping my thumb on top of that cork, because if pressure's built up, as soon as I pull this cage off, that cork could actually come out on its own. Never point these at people. So I'm going to remove this. The cork's not moving, so that's good. Now what I'm going to do is I've got my serviette or a small towel, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to put my, and I'm going to do this so you guys can see it without the towel. I'm going to give that cork a tiny twist. Now, the tiniest twist, 1/8 of a turn, and I can already feel the cork moving, okay? I'm trying to do it without the cloth so you can see it, and it's already started to move. And you want to just a gentle twist, and there's a lot of pressure, and hopefully just a little sigh. That's how champagne should be opened, or sparkling wine. If you'll notice, the cork is actually a 2-piece cork, and it flares out. There's a special machine that grabs the cork, compresses it, and puts it in. And just as a little bit of trivia, that if any of you become a future student of mine, you'll need to know this for a piece of extra credit. On better French champagnes, you'll see a comet printed on the bottom of a French wine cork. And this is basically in homage to the great comet of 1812, which was a truly vintage year, and they called it the comet wine. So as to tribute for that, many better champagnes, real champagnes, will have a comet, a star, on the bottom of the cork. Look for it the next time you open a good bottle of champagne. Now, get in the habit, when you have your serviette or little towel, always get in the habit of wiping the rim, especially champagnes. And then we've got our flute. Remember, I talked about how we have a nice slender glass, and I'm just going to pour this in. Don't let the glass touch your glass, and you can see the bubbles. And here's what we're looking for. In the bottom of the glass, we can see tiny bubbles. And while I love the Don Ho song, I'm not going to sing it for you. But that's what he was talking about. Tiny bubbles in the wine. And usually, tinier the bubble, the better. And you'll see them just start to stream really slowly. What's happened is, that's the carbon dioxide that through the method of process has been basically squeezed microscopically into the wine. And now that the pressure's been released, the CO2 is just slightly being released, and you see streams of tiny bubbles. That's what we're looking for. Smells wonderful, like a spumante should smell. Sweet, really sweet with fruity, citrusy notes. This will be a sweet wine. And something to be enjoyed any day of the week. It's Thursday. Have a glass of champagne. So, this is Chef Paul. You know, when we come back, I think I'm going to go outside and savor a bottle of champagne open. So, you don't want to miss that. So, make sure to come back and see it. Cheers.